My name is Oliver Westmoreland. I am an OISC Level 3 Registered Advisor, and I am a consultant with GSN Immigration. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon so you can continue to watch our extremely interesting videos about UK visa and immigration advice. Today I'm going to talk about asylum and claiming asylum in the UK. This is rather a huge subject. I'll tell you some very basic facts, and then Mr. Shah and I are going to have a bit of a conversation and discuss things in a bit more detail, but very basic facts. If a person from another country is in the UK and they claim that if they had to return to their home country or their country of origin, they would be severely mistreated, persecuted, killed, tortured, something bad like that, they can, as the expression goes, they can claim asylum on that basis. Now, there's a lot more surrounding it than that, of course. That's a very basic idea. Just let me expand a little bit. Such a person who claims asylum is called an asylum seeker, for obvious reasons. They are somebody who is claiming or seeking asylum. If such a person is eventually successful in their claim, they become a refugee. This is the way that we use the terminology in the United Kingdom. Other people might use the terminology a bit differently, but that's how we use the terminology in this country. Asylum seeker and refugee. It could happen that an asylum seeker is successful in their claim, but they don't become a refugee. They could become a holder of humanitarian protection. The two things are very similar, but there are some differences. The law sounds a bit funny, but this is the way that it works. For an asylum seeker to succeed in their asylum claim, they must show that they would be persecuted for one of 5 reasons. These are called convention reasons. This is in relation to the European Refugee Convention. You, the asylum seeker, must show that you will be persecuted for one of these 5 reasons: race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or, most vaguely of all, membership of a particular social group. Now, I suppose race and nationality, they pretty much go together, don't they? Religion, we all know what that means. Political opinion, pretty much we all know what that means. Membership of a particular social group, it's something intentionally vague and intentionally nebulous. The courts have decided that various people fit into one of these particular social groups. I'll give you 2 well-known examples. Women in Pakistan have been deemed to be a particular social group. Gay men have been deemed to be a particular social group. Now, as I say, this subject, you can go into as much depth and complexity as you like, but those are some basic facts.
Thank you very much, Oliver, for talking about asylum topic today. It is a very important topic and a very sensitive one. Recently, we've seen a lot of news about asylum seekers crossing channel through France, and it's all over the media how Home Office is currently struggling with the backlog of asylum seekers' applications. There are some questions and some myths that we would like you to clarify for our audience. And let's assume there is someone abroad outside the UK who is facing persecution and think that their life may be in danger and want to claim asylum. Can they claim asylum from abroad without coming to the UK?
No, they can't. You can only claim asylum if you are pretty much physically in the UK.
Okay, which means there is no application form to be filled from outside the UK and wait for a decision?
No. I think maybe some people got confused because they read about the case of Julian Assange claiming asylum in the Ecuadorian embassy. Those rules or laws don't exist in the United Kingdom. You can't claim asylum in a British embassy. The law is not quite, but very close to saying that you can only claim asylum if you are physically within the UK.
Okay, so people who may be thinking, about coming to the UK to claim asylum, do you think the usual approach that quite a lot of people take is to apply for a visitor visa and travel to the UK to claim asylum? Would you say is that the correct approach?
Well, as you say, a lot of people do it. Let me say something else. If such a person wants to contact a UK immigration advisor or lawyer and say, I want to apply for a visitor visa, and when I get to the UK, I want to claim asylum, any proper lawyer would refuse to accept such an application because it would be deemed to be dishonest. Because when you apply for a visitor visa, you say, I'm going to apply for a visitor visa and stay in the UK for 3 months to see my family or to see the sites, and I'm going to go back. However, on a different angle of that, if somebody is in the UK on a visitor visa somehow or other, and they claim asylum, then the Home Office will have to accept the application and they'll have to process it.
Okay, thanks very much.
It doesn't have to be a visitor visa. I mean, some people come on another kind of visa, like a student visa.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just add one little thing? Such a person, if they come to the UK, they claim asylum, and they say that the reason that they claim asylum is that there's been some change in their country, some change in the government or something like that, then that looks like a credible reason to claim asylum. It's a stronger sort of application if you come up with something like that, perhaps.
Sure. And assuming the situation with the Channel crossing and the political situation between France and the United Kingdom, if somebody was to enter the UK from France and claim asylum here, can they be rejected solely because they are coming from a different European country where they may be better off compared to their own country?
Potentially, yes, that the Home Office could refuse to admit the application. Potentially, the Home Office could try to remove them back to France, because France is a functioning democracy, deemed to be a safe country. Potentially, yes, the Home Office could try and send someone back to a safe country. As a general rule and a general principle, if you come to the UK and claim asylum by whichever route, legally or illegally, it should be that you have not passed through a safe country.
Okay. And what about the processing time? Is it very usual for people to be waiting a couple of years for their asylum claim to be processed?
I wouldn't say that it's very unusual, but it's not unknown. Something strange that seems to happen is that some countries, they get processed much more quickly than others. I have no idea why, but I think you're definitely talking about months to get a decision on your asylum application in most cases.
Okay. And is that correct that currently there is such a big backlog with asylum applications with the Home Office, that Home Office is spending approximately £5 million a day to accommodate asylum seekers in UK hotels?
Well, I don't know if it's correct, but I read it in the papers, and of course most of us believe what we read in the papers. I can tell you that it's certainly a lot. I can tell you something else, that throughout most of the time in the past 10 or 15 years, most of the time there's been a big backlog. This is nothing new at all. A few years ago, there was a thing called the Legacy Programme. There was such a huge backlog of asylum seekers that the Home Office threw up its hands and gave up and said, let's grant all these people leave. We can't cope with this number of applications. Let's grant them leave, and then hopefully they can maybe work and get jobs and pay taxes. This was a few years ago. If you come across somebody who says, I was granted asylum on the basis of the Legacy Programme, this means that they didn't actually succeed in their asylum claim. It just means that the Home Office had given up at that stage and they just granted leave to lots and lots of people, thousands of people. This is not a new problem at all.
Okay. This might be, a good approach. Can asylum seekers currently work while their application is in process?
Well, potentially, but they would have to have claimed asylum at least 1 year ago, and their claim is still outstanding, and many people find themselves in that situation. They can apply to work. However, the really bad news is they can only apply to work in a deemed shortage occupation. Now, the Home Office publishes a list of deemed shortage occupations. They're either, in most cases, very, very skilled or very obscure. So if you're thinking that you'd like to apply for permission to work, it's probably best to acquaint yourself with the types of jobs that you will be able to work in, because otherwise it's probably not really worth trying.
Mm-hmm. And if they're not allowed to work, I mean, I would imagine they have expenses to be able to live on, like food and accommodation.
Yeah.
Does Home Office provide any financial and accommodation support to asylum seekers?
Yes, it may do. It's called Section 4 support. Generally speaking, asylum seekers will be given that support, but I mean, it won't make them rich, but it's supposed to give them somewhere to live and enough money to live on.
Okay, that's good. And what about the family members who get left behind? They also may be in danger. Can those family members join the asylum seeker in the UK?
Well, if the family members think they're in danger, they're in the same situation as the main applicant was in the first place. They would have to physically get to the UK somehow or other. Let's face it, as you suggested right at the beginning, some people come to the UK legally, but I mean, as we know from reading the papers, a lot of people come to the UK illegally. I don't say it doesn't matter, but in a certain sense it does matter, because by whichever route someone comes to the UK, either legally or illegally, the Home Office has to consider their asylum claim. That's the reality about that. If I could just jump ahead, if the asylum claimant is successful and they become either a refugee or a holder of humanitarian protection, then their family members in their home country, who were family members before the person fled, they can make an application under the immigration rules to rejoin their main family member under the family reunion rules. This is not an asylum claim. This is just a claim under the normal immigration rules, and it's not so difficult. In fact, as applications go, it's quite easy.
Okay, that's definitely good news, that the family can be reunited in the UK without having to put their life in danger to travel without a visa in the
I mean,
UK.
we all know the dangers in travelling legally to the UK, don't we, from a quick perusal of the papers?
Very true, very true. Some people come to the UK on a different visas and they do their extensions, etc. And sometimes they hit a bump and there is no other visa left for them to continue to stay in the UK. And they end up applying for asylum just because they think this is the only option, and they may not be meeting the requirements to be granted asylum. What would you say about that approach?
It's a sensitive subject. I would say this: an asylum application is not just another type of visa application. It's not like a student application or a spouse application or a civil partner application or a skilled worker application. It's something where you claim that you're in severe danger of death or torture or something like that. It's not just another option to immigration leave. I would say that, let's face it, some asylum claims are dishonest. We know that, the judges know that, the courts know that, the Home Office definitely know it very, very well. I don't think it's admirable behaviour when somebody claims asylum and they know that the claim is a bit fake, because some asylum claims are strong and true. We know there is bad persecution in many countries in the world. We know that from reading the papers and looking at the media. I think it's immoral for someone to claim asylum and they know it's a fake claim, but of course people do. But let me say, I think it's the wrong approach. You have a list of visas you could apply for, and then at the bottom comes asylum. So, everything else doesn't work, okay, I'm going to claim for asylum. I don't think that's the way to look at it. Asylum is for people who need it, for people who need, as the legal expression goes, people who need international protection, because they haven't got protection in their own country.
So what happens, Oliver, if an asylum case is refused by the Home Office?
Well, the person will have the right of appeal to the first tier immigration tribunal. That is or should be quite a good process, for reasons that I'll explain in just a second. However, sometimes the Home Office might say there's a right of appeal, but they might certify the claim as clearly unfounded. If they do this, then there's no right of appeal in the UK. The right of appeal would only happen from outside the UK. Now, this decision that the claim is clearly unfounded can be challenged, but only by judicial review with the upper immigration tribunal, not via appeal with the first tier tribunal. Anyway, in many cases from many countries, very, very likely there will be a right of appeal in the UK. In many cases, the Home Office won't try to say that the claim is clearly unfounded. It depends pretty much on what country it's from, but in many cases, the Home Office won't try to do that. There will be the right of appeal in the UK before the first tier immigration tribunal. Now, there's something I would like to explain. I think most people would agree with me who work in this field. The first time that an asylum claimant gets a really fair consideration of their issues is when they come up against an immigration judge at the first tier tribunal. Home Office, notoriously negative, they don't believe anything. It happens to me a few times. You get the Home Office refusal decision, they disbelieve every aspect of the case except that they might believe the person's claimed nationality, but they don't believe anything else. This is not uncommon. Home Office sometimes very negative in their decision making. Immigration judge is a different person, or they certainly should be. Immigration judge is an experienced lawyer. Immigration judge has deep training in legal issues. Immigration judge doesn't work for the Home Office. Immigration judge works for the Ministry of Justice. They are impartial and independent of the Home Office. You should get a proper and fair and legally correct consideration of the issues from an immigration judge. Now, of course, not every asylum case before the tribunal is successful, but you've got more chance, I would say, other things being equal, you've got more chance of a fair consideration of the issues before an immigration judge than you have before a Home Office caseworker who very, very likely is not a qualified lawyer anyway. Immigration judge, different kind of person. I don't say that things always go right at the tribunal, because they don't. Some immigration judges are better than others, but I think on the average, you could expect a fairer and more thorough and more proper consideration of the issues from the immigration judge and then from Home Office caseworker.
Okay, thank you very much for clarifying that. I think we will end today's vlog with this information, and we see you in the next vlog.
Yes, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.